How's it going, Vikings fans? Welcome back to the second episode of Skol Experience. Post Vikings season, we're still all very depressed, but trying to put a smile on and bring the greatest Vikings content that we possibly can. Today, we are joined by another guest. We got Alexis on today. So, Alexis, as we like to do on this show, I'd like to let the guest take the floor for a little bit here. Tell us a bit about your Vikings fandom and how it all started. And yeah, we'll let you take it from here.
My dad was always a Vikings fan growing up, and since kindergarten, always put me in Viking jerseys. I have a Warren Moon, Chris Carter, all from back when I was young. So it was just, I was the only child. So it was just what me and him did, what we had in common, went to the games, talked about every game, went to Minnesota when I was little. And then I just kept doing it when I was older. I got more into it when I got older, like after my high school years.
What brought your dad into the fandom? You said you were from Rochester, New York. We had a lot of, I meet New Yorkers, especially down where we live, right? South Florida. And some are Viking fans because of Fran Tarkenton played for the Giants, or they were just big fans of the Purple People Eaters. Is that kind of how your dad came about, or?
I think he didn't. I think that he said to me, they beat the Packers once and the Cowboys, and I just kind of jumped on the bandwagon, but so long ago. Mm-hmm. And it was just always a team he liked. He never liked Buffalo. And to me, they're the same. Got the same outcome, same disappointment. Right. But yeah, it was just like they won this one big game that he watched. And ever since that day, he was like, this is my team. And he's never changed. Still gets angry. But I was like, thanks for signing me up for this.
What made you such a big presence on Twitter? How'd that get started?
I don't know. I always had my Twitter. I just didn't get into it until I was like, who can I vent to about this team that likes them as well? Because I don't have all my friends are Bills fans. So I'm like, all right, I got to find other people. And then I think I found Dunstan first, maybe. And then it just
Dustin?
Yes.
Dustin Baker?
Yeah. So then
we brought him on our show recently. So
yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, he's so nice. I met him in Miami
really
at the
nice
Dolphins game. So then I kind of trickled, I did his podcast once, and then more people, I just met more Vikings fans, and it kept spiraling from there.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it feels unfortunate to be brought into this fandom. I mean, I didn't until 2009. That was a good Brett Favre year, and I'm just like, oh, why do people complain about this team? This is easy. And then, the other years happened. I'm like, oh, that's why. This sucks.
Yeah.
But that's part of the fun. Part of the fun is the journey to get to the top of the mountain, which hopefully sometime soon we get. Alexis, what are your thoughts? Speaking of which, I think me, Dave, and Jamie all kind of agree that we feel like Kevin O'Connell is the right guy to lead us to that point. What were your thoughts on the coach for his first season?
So my expectations were all right, if we can at least win 10 games, it's better than it was. So I felt like he exceeded expectations in that sense, but I just don't know how we never changed the defense. It just wasn't working ever.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, we're going to go into the playoffs. They're going to show up differently. It's going to be a different team. And it was the same. So
yeah, I was thinking after the Cowboy game, I think if Kevin O'Connell just took charge and said, hey, we're making a switch, Mike Pettine's going to take over for the rest of the year, and we're just going to see what happens.
Right.
That would have gave me a little more cherry on top of how good a KOC was as a coach this year, but go ahead and continue.
Well, it's even just kind of the point too, where if you make a move like that, at least it shows the players you mean business and that nobody's job is safe. Right. You're willing to let go of a defensive coordinator in the middle of a season that we were having as well. So I see that point for sure.
I'm just confused. Did he not see how awful it was? He had to have known every week they were you gave up 400 yards again. What are we going to do? And I know Ed is respected. He's been in it a long time, but his scheme wasn't working for the players that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think it's so much of lack of talent. I think it's just, it didn't work.
Right.
It was too hard. You can't have players. They're a little older, obviously, but they're not running as fast. They're not moving as fast. So the zone and everything, people were confused half the time. And I just don't know why we didn't change it, at least for the playoffs. So that was the only disappointment I felt. But I also think maybe he was not afraid, but didn't want to, he definitely held on to Ed for a while. I didn't even know if he was going to let him go. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know what he's going to do. I think he's kind of doesn't want to burn a bridge with him, which I get, but it wasn't working.
It was and I think that was a big step, is him actually firing him after the season.
Right.
Like,
That's
to
what I was
show
gonna
that
say.
he's not too afraid to make the change.
Right.
So I appreciated seeing that.
Preached accountability. He preached accountability, and there was obviously one place on this team needed accountability. Let's give us some shout outs to our listeners. Dave, thanks for showing up. McAndrews, evening. Bendito, thank you for showing up on every show that I do. Purple Pain Gang, yep, that's us. Raymond, my big winner of the Chuck Foreman jersey.
Hey,
love it. Thanks for the email today. I appreciate it. You're gonna like the way we lose. Yeah, he's referring to how you like the way we play, and the only people that did were the Giants and Giants fans, I'm sure. And how much, you brought it up that players may be a little slower, whatever. They're but the big thing I thought was they were confused. It's like I think it was more the way we played and how bad the defense was more a reflection on his philosophy behind the defense. And it looks, and there was times, there was like one this was one that really stuck out to me. I think it was the Eagles game, and this guy did a fly route right up the middle, ran by everybody, and we blamed it on Bynum, and he says, well, that wasn't Bynum's guy. That wasn't Bynum's guy, that was Dantzler's. I'm like, whose idea would it to make the safety come up and play the short route and have Dantzler follow the guy to the end zone? I mean, so whatever scheme you're running, you're screwing it up. And that was my first indication. But he did bring something up. KOC did fire him. It was, he put his foot down, I think, and showed accountability. And I think that's going to go a long way from now on.
Yeah, I think it was hard for KOC, first year head coach, you're 10 and whatever at the time, to make that decision to fire your defensive coordinator. I think that's a lot for someone that's a first year. I mean, obviously, if you would have done it, I think it was the right move, but maybe that's the reason why he decided not to do it mid-season, which would have been a hard decision to do all that. But I think, like what you said with Pettin, I think that would have been at least a decent attempt, because you got someone who already knows the players literally inside the organization. So if you moved him up to the top, I don't see everything it couldn't really have been much worse, but I couldn't imagine it could have been better. I don't know. I couldn't imagine it being too bad of an idea.
Alexis, you put out a tweet about how you think KOC was shortchanged in the voting, or shortchanged as being a nomination
before we jump to that.
Okay.
First off, let's give our hands.
We'll save that. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
It'll be the next one.
Production value. That's how we do it.
our MVP finalist, Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the league, the one positional player outside of quarterback that got into the finals there. What do you guys think about all that? Justin Jefferson.
I don't think there's a way that he wins it, but it's super cool. Super cool to see him at least getting some national recognition for what he did for this team this season. I'll give a quick shout out before we move on. Rap, thanks for joining. Appreciate it.
What's going on?
So, man.
But yeah, huge for Justin Jefferson's career, even just to be in that, at least in the running for it. And it's only going to help him when it comes to contract negotiation time this offseason, as if he needed more help. But,
Yeah.
He needs we need another wide receiver that can play better than what we have next to him.
It's nice to have TJ Hawkinson, but it's huge to have him, but it still feels like we just need, especially someone that's maybe just fast. Yeah. I don't know, just something else. A wide receiver too, a real wide receiver too.
When Justin Jefferson is getting double and triple covered, and our second receiver only has 700 yards, and that Thielen had, there's something wrong there.
And KJ Osborne is not showing himself to be a very good route runner. He's young, he's got the speed, he's got physicality. You're right, he's still young. He rounds off his routes quite a bit and doesn't get separation. So hopefully that can get coached into him this offseason. Because we thought there was going to be a step forward. Sure, he had a couple 100-yard games, but where was he the rest of the year? Except for maybe 2 plays.
Destined to be a number 3 wide receiver, which is perfectly fine. Every team needs a good third receiver.
And any team would be happy to have a third wide receiver like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we saved on we'll talk about Thielen, I think, a little bit later, but we do have a guy on our roster, Jalen Naylor. Alexis, do you have any thoughts on him? If you think that he could, is he good depth? Do you think he's got potential? He's shown some flashes, when he got out on the field.
Right. Is in Chicago. I do, but I just feel like you can never tell. And it's like, if he does, then why didn't we play him more? Yeah. I think we should have tried to use him more when things weren't working, not just at the end when it didn't matter. I don't know.
Well, we got kind of a history of that. Thielen didn't play till year 3.
Right.
Diggs didn't dress until like game 4. Justin Jefferson didn't start until week 3. Kind of a history of saying, "Oh, we'll play the vets," and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like he'll hopefully get his opportunity in the preseason and stand out, and hopefully we don't do what we did to Diggs or what we did to Thielen. I want him to get opportunity, but I think he makes the team no problem next year.
Yeah.
He did show up a little bit.
I think he has potential.
Yeah.
I think the wide receiver coach, I saw he didn't get the position in the Patriots, so I'm hoping he stays. I don't want to lose him. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think he interviewed with the Bucks today.
Did he?
Yeah.
But we'll
see.
The offensive coordinator is a big jump from
from a wide receiver coach.
Because normally isn't like position coach somewhere else, quarterback coach, and then offensive coordinator. I thought that's normally like the
you get some offensive line guys too. Like Mike Tice, but usually it has to deal with some sort of, in a type of, he was a receiver. A lot of quarterbacks end up being, end up being offensive coordinators. But yeah, you're right. Going from a quarterback's coach usually is the step. But hey, who knows? It could be anybody. There's been good offensive coordinators that came from other positions. Oh, we got Too Evil to Hope, my nemesis on YouTube. Thanks for coming again, man. Always love it. Trade Hunter for Trey Lance.
No.
Okay, sure.
Weatherspoon. I know Rap has been talking about Weatherspoon. He's the cornerback, I believe. I haven't looked too much into that yet. I know Rap has been saying it on his channel, which he Rap told me all day on Weatherspoon. I'll have to go look into him to see a little bit more what he's all about.
Yeah, I'll have to go back.
Corners coming out of college this year,
which is good for us because
you could pick a corner every round. It's a heavy cornerback class.
I know we just have to hit. If we get one in the first round, we have to hit on it this time.
If you're in the end of the draft, Alexis, we're gonna have to have you back on our show because we're gonna hit that pretty hard as soon as we get done getting this D coordinator.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's not many options for a defensive coordinator right now.
We're gonna talk about that here soon. What's the next thing you got?
We'll jump right back into this. So that's Kevin O'Connell with chip on his shoulder.
Is that a pun?
What's that?
Is that a pun? Is that a visual pun?
It's a visual pun. He has to be if I'm him, I'm feeling a little disrespected right now. I don't know how you are a first-year head coach. You go 13-4, and you're not even a finalist out of 5 coaches to be the coach of the year. I don't know. I feel like that's respectable. I feel like you put a chip on his shoulder, and hopefully he uses that as motivation going into this offseason and next season. What do you think, Alexis, on KOC not being a finalist?
So when people try to justify it, well, he had more talent when he took over the team. It's kind of, okay, he had Justin Jefferson. I get that Giants don't have Justin Jefferson, but he did better as a whole as a new head coach. 13-4 is hard no matter what you have.
Right.
And obviously our defense wasn't helping him at all. So how do you not have him in the conversation and then have other teams that didn't play so well all the time, that didn't win as many games like Jacksonville, and consider, I don't know, Doug Peters? I don't like either of those choices. I felt like he was so snubbed for no reason. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I said earlier in the year, earlier that it's tougher to go from 8 wins to 13 than it is from 4 to 9. You know what I'm saying? So I think, that was, especially with the defense. I think you did tweet out about that, about how many 400-yard games we came up, and KOC was able to overcome it and get 13 wins, which is
right. It's even harder.
Got to be some sort of coaching genius behind it. But
right.
Yeah, to not be nominated, to not be one of
He
6.
should have been nominated. I didn't say. I didn't
at
say
least
he should have won.
I didn't think he should have won it
been in
based
the
on.
conversation.
I don't think he should have won it based on how we ended up this season, but losing to 2 rivals and then losing the playoff game, I get it. He's not going to win it, but not to be nominated is ridiculous.
Right. But I think next year he'll have a pretty solid shot. I want to shout out a couple more people here. Nano Joe, thanks for jumping in. Trade the old parts of the team that includes Cousins check down ass. Yeah.
All right. Well, he's got his opinion on. We know what he thinks about Cousins. All right.
Right. But thanks for joining again, Nano Joe. Appreciate it. Justin Lawrence, always disrespect. Yeah, that's very true. This one though, this one is why I think next season we will definitely see what Kevin O'Connell really has, because the Vikings had one of the easiest schedules with an extra home game. Next year they get
an easy schedule,
but next year they get that first place schedule. And looking at some of the games that we have coming up next season, I mean,
they're tough.
Yeah, Bengals. What I think it was Bengals on the.
City.
Is it Bengals in Kansas City on the road? Or is Kansas City here? I think.
Kansas City. I think is
home. Kansas City and the Niners are both at home. You have the Bengals on the road. You already have all your division games. It's tough. This year. Obviously with what Kevin O'Connell did, 13-4, definitely should have been in consideration. But if he can do the same thing next year with the schedule we have. Like I said, that first place schedule is always hard to play. Like, we're going to see a lot of how good of a coach he is coming up next season against those teams. So
before the Packers and the Lions got to over 500, I was saying that, hey, our next year's schedule had 12 games that had teams with 500 or less records. But then that changed. It went down to 8 after the Packers became, over 500, and so did the Lions. So it's not the hardest schedule, but yeah, we got to play first team games now. And I think we're probably going to have, is it 8 home games and 9 road?
Yep.
Yep.
So you got the extra home game.
So it changes a little bit. It is going to be harder. I don't expect us to win 13 games, but we could still be, really good. It all depends on how we draft. Shout out to Justin Lawrence from Skol Searching, who he recreated the Ed Thorpe Trophy. I don't know if you guys saw my show last night, guys, but he recreated the Ed Thorpe Trophy, which is the trophy the 1969 Vikings won the NFL championship, and it disappeared. So he actually recreated it from pictures. He would have to tell you how much alloy he used, but he recreated it, tried to get it in the Vikings Hall of Fame. They've rejected him now like 7 times. So they don't want anything to do with it. So, hey, thanks for showing up, Justin.
Got to keep trying. Justin, I think we hit you up on
keep trying,
actually, and we'll definitely try to get you on our show too during this off season. But speaking of that, the off season is pretty much started for us, starting with defensive coordinators and the interviews. So let's dive into that. I know this is the guy that was, what's his name? I know his last name's
Ryan Nielsen.
Ryan Nielsen. Our first interview. What do you guys think on Nielsen, or what's your idea? What are you guys thinking on this whole defensive coordinator situation? Who are you liking early? Is there any thoughts like that?
You can go ahead, Alexis.
I jumped on the Flores train, Brian Flores, just because he's a heavy blitz defensive pressure quarterback, which we saw none of that this year. So I wanted to see what he would do if he was our defensive coordinator, how he would use these guys. I don't want to get someone that runs a 3-4 and is going to not blitz as much as Brian would. And then we're kind of back in the same situation, because what we did with zone coverage all year didn't work. And I know man's a little harder, but we need to draft young defensive players. I want like a whole young team. I don't want to get rid of there's like a couple of vets I could never say bye to, just emotional things.
Right.
I would be good at cutting players. I would be like, no, just stay. It's fine.
Yeah.
But a young cornerback room would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that's unfortunate about corners is I think they kind of say it's like the quarterback position of the defense, where it takes you don't come. Most of the time, unless you're Sauce Gardner, you don't come in and just figure it out right away.
I wanted him.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, unfortunately, he went early.
Super
that
early. Our secondary was
he went third.
I think the worst part. Our secondary was the worst part.
And I think what you said, just being slow, didn't really. I mean, because Dantzler was never fully healthy. Patrick Peterson, I mean, he had flashes, but also, I mean, I think we're talking about a different ball game week 1. He let Christian Watson blew by him on that first play. If Watson catches that ball, we're looking at a different ball game there. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough with the cornerback position because it's so hard to find good ones, and especially ones that come in and contribute right away. It does not happen often, unfortunately.
And Signed will come back in for safe, but will he be good? We don't know.
Right. Sure. Then we got Booth and Evans.
He's working out, so that's good.
I know. I want Booth to be good. But he gets injured so easily, it seems.
I feel like he hasn't been healthy since high school.
So Jamie, you want my opinion on this guy? This Ryan Nielsen?
Yeah. What's your opinion?
I'm going to give you my opinion on him. This guy has moved around year after year after year. He's never stayed in one place too long. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And he's a co-coordinator, and we've already experienced co-coordinators and how that works out. So I'm passing on this guy. I think he's low on the totem pole of choices. They are interviewing like they did with head coach. They're interviewing a lot of guys to see what's out there. I think with this guy.
And Nano Joe's definitely right here outside of Patrick Peterson. The cornerbacks are young, but they're all very injury prone and made of glass. So I mean, if we can get some contribution from them this next season, I mean, obviously you still want to add depth just in case and talent, but I mean,
I would keep Duke Shelley. I would keep him for depth.
Yeah, for sure.
After this year.
And I mean, and even if you could bring Patrick Peterson back at a decent salary, like I'd be fine with that too. But if he's asking for what he got last year, I don't know. I mean, especially with some of the tough decisions that we'll get into in a little bit here, it's kind of it's weird. But
so other coach,
I think this would be a good option.
What do you think? What do you guys think? Dave, we'll start with you.
That much
Alexis, about you.
So.
Dave has an opinion on this guy.
So he was the defensive coordinator for the Bears in 2021.
Yep.
Okay.
And Mike Pettin was, also with the Bears. So there's some continuity there. The Bears didn't have any talent, and their offense was crap, in turning the ball over more than any team in the league. So these guys were put in real tough situations. And honestly, their defense did play better than what the personnel they had. And they actually played pretty decent against us. If you watch the first half of that the Bears game, they shut us down that first half.
Hicks was still there though, right?
What's that?
They still had Hicks there then, right?
Yeah.
And Mac.
Yeah, they crushed us every time.
Yeah, but I think the rest of the team is pretty weak with personnel. But and then he went on to Seattle, and what did Seattle do? They turned around in 1 year.
Right.
He was a assistant head coach, I think, or defensive. He was a defensive coach for him, but he wasn't the coordinator. But he was the coordinator for the Bears with an under-talented team, and they were least competitive. That's the only thing. I like the fact that they interviewed him. I think it was a good idea to interview him, and I think he's got a future in the league, and he hasn't moved around a lot like that Nielsen guy has. So I think I think people are looking at him.
For sure.
I wouldn't cry if we got this guy, but I think there's probably better out there.
Yeah. Who do we got next here?
We didn't even say his name because we can't pronounce it.
I know. Is it Dusay?
I think it's Desai.
Desai.
Okay. Sean Desai.
Yeah, they already interviewed him. I think they're just waiting for Flores.
They already interviewed him, yes.
Yep.
And Flores is tomorrow.
Flores is tomorrow.
I think he wants another head coaching job, though.
But I don't know. Like, I know Atlanta. Was it Atlanta that interviewed him for the head coaching job? But, like, I mean, it's a head coaching job.
Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. Which I guess there's enough in Arizona. I don't know. That's a tough call. Like, Kyler Murray's there eventually. Like, but I mean, not till the end of next season, most likely. But I don't know. Interesting. Like, taking a head coaching job is cool, but on a team that I don't know. Mike Pettin, obviously, in his previous stops, his defenses haven't been all that great. I think part of me feels like this one was just like he's on the staff. It'd be rude not to, coming from Kevin O'Connell, but I don't know. This one, it's the least exciting from what I've seen so far. But
yeah,
but he's also, I mean, he's an experienced defensive coach, but I don't know.
And I'm least excited about him. Plus, because he's there, so it's like, did you contribute to what was happening already?
That's
because we need to change that.
Very good
he would probably still run a 3-4, and he would keep Z, which I liked Zarius Smith, but I wanted him to be more explosive.
Mm-hmm.
We need like a Micah Parsons on this defense. We need someone that's going to brutally disrupt the game. We don't have it all the time.
And I've always thought, like, I've kind of thought too, like watching this last season, that we need like an impact, like interior defensive lineman too. Like Delvin Tomlinson's good, but he's not like whoever that, I can't remember. I mean, I should know his name, and obviously I'll know his name when we look into it, but the kid coming out of Georgia, like the defensive tackle, that's going to just be a world beater. It sounds like we need a guy like that. Like, I know he's gonna be a number 1 overall, or potential to be a top 3, top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. So it's like you don't see those guys often, but like those interior guys that can just blow up the middle of a defense. Like, and obviously I was watching some other YouTuber, and he kind of said like watching the fact that like our edge rushers didn't get home and the interior guys didn't do much either just kind of tells you all you need to know. Like they put all the blocking on the Daniil and Za'Darius on the outside, and nobody on the inside could do anything. So I think they need like a big defensive guy in the middle. So see what they do there.
So Mike Pettin actually has a really good track record as a D coordinator. He was D coordinator for the Jets back when they were good. If you remember those defenses. However, he wasn't the guy. He was the D coordinator, but he wasn't the guy because the head coach really was the guy. But I think he coached the Bills one year, and they were really good. They were a top 10 defense. And then when he was with the Packers, 2019, Pettin guided a defense that ranked number 9 in points, allowing 19 points per game. All 3 of those years, I think he was top 10 in at least the points or the yards category, and they got rid of him. And then with Chicago, actually, I was probably underselling that guy because that defense was 10th in total defense. 2021, Chicago was 10th in total defense. And so these two guys are kind of hand in hand of that. They were part of that defense. But Pettin actually has I think a better track record than any candidate so far. Now you're probably going to talk about Bulls next, but yeah, he's not the sexy pick, and he was involved with this last defense.
Yes.
How much was his fault? Internally, we'll know that. So if they they did decide to go with him, they'll probably know that, hey, they got him for a reason to be part of this team, and they're giving him a shot. I don't know if this is one of those situations. Hey, man, we like you where you're at. We'll keep you here. We're going to bring in somebody else. Who knows? Maybe he goes somewhere else because he gets snubbed. But literally, he's had really good defenses. And I don't know why he lost but he continued to lose his job.
Well, Packers fans really don't care for him though. But you also did say about that Ryan Nielsen. You said he keeps moving around. That's why you didn't like him. So I mean, the same thing with Pettin. You got to look at that too as well. But
no, he has had a start. Or he's had more of a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Well, he became the head coach of Cleveland and then lost that job. And then I mean, he moved because of promotion. That other guy just hopped around from team to team, college team. It was crazy. He moved around because of promotion. Or got fired by Cleveland as the head coach. That's how he met. And that's how he met. Kevin O'Connell. Is because he hired him as a coach. That was his first coaching job, and Mike Pettin is the guy that hired him. So,
but anyway, looking at the next candidate here, Flores, obviously he's a pretty hot commodity right now. Started off with the Patriots. He wasn't necessarily their defensive coordinator, but he was their defensive play caller. And the big thing I like about Flores is, I mean, if you got to find something, it's the fact that in his career, when he hasn't been the head guy, because obviously he went to Miami and that defense got progressively better as he coached there. But the fact that he coached under Bill Belichick and he coached under this last season, Mike Tomlin, two of the top, like probably the top defensive coaches you can think of that have ever coached, that have been in the NFL. Like that's what I like to see. Like he's been around a lot of really smart, intelligent football minds on the defensive side of the football. So yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a pretty hot commodity. Dave, I know you have a differing opinion, but
I flipped to my opinion, yes. But Alexis, you said you liked him because of his blitz, and I hear that a lot. I hear the people that do like him are talking about that, and I am for all that. What you said,
right?
Casey, you're saying, and I didn't know this. Casey, you're saying even though he was the defensive backs coach and then became the linebackers coach at the end of his career for the Patriots, you're saying he actually did the play calling?
Yeah, I looked it up. I thought they said he was the defensive play caller.
Oh, but
because they didn't have a defensive coordinator.
It was Bill Belichick was
Bill Belichick was kind of that, but he was like the defensive coordinator without the title. Is what it says.
Well, and then he became a head coach because of that experience. And his first year, and you're right, they did get progressively better. I think they were ranked 31st his first year, and the next 2 years he was in the 20s. And the reason why I said what I said about, I was pretty high on it too, because of the name, and everybody thought of him as a big aggressive defensive player. And I'm like, I'm thinking there may, and I think I said no because I do have a track record. We saw the 3 years of defense that he had total control over in Miami, and they never broke the top 25. So that's why I was like, and one of my best friends is a Miami Dolphins fan, and he was saying, "Hey, our coach is known for this defense. Why aren't we any better than we are?" And I'm like, I don't know. But I hear good things about him. I will not cry if we hire this guy because he's so well thought of as a coach. Right. So I'm not going to cry about it if we hire him.
Yeah. Alexis, you go.
I heard though, people were saying like players didn't like him though. Tua was okay when he left, so that made me a little nervous.
I wasn't going to say that.
I mean,
but yeah, that also makes me nervous.
It's going to be the fear based again, and players aren't going to respond to it. I don't know.
I think that's more like a head coaching issue. I think when you're the defensive coordinator, I don't think there'd be a lot of that.
Yeah, especially KOC is your head coach.
Right.
The way
he's
he
so
handles his
happy and so positive and so
right.
emotionally attached to the players. I can't see like a hard ass coach coming in and doing. I mean, I know.
Does he fit? I guess you're probably saying, does he fit the culture that we're trying to create?
Right.
Would he take feedback? Because there was, and we didn't bring this up earlier, but KOC did kind of let it leak out there that he told his D coordinator at Donatil that, hey, this is how I would attack your defense. I mean, this is what I would do, trying to get him to say, okay, I need to be more aggressive here. I need to be more aggressive. And then he did press conference.
I want to know if he'll connect well with the players. Yeah. Well, that's the only concern.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the way that Kwesi
and they did meet each other, I believe they overlapped in when he was the backup quarterback in New England.
Yep, I heard that as well. But I think with the way that's going to be with the way Kevin O'Connell coaches and Kwesi kind of built this team, I feel like that's going to be part of the interview process. Like, what's your coaching style? And if they feel like it's at all going to not mesh well with what they're trying to build, I think they would pass and move on. Because obviously that was their big thing coming in here was culture and accountability and whatnot. So
that's the reason why KOC got hired over Harbaugh, was specifically that. So that's why I think, I mean, it is going to matter, though. I would say, I was pretty disappointed by the aggressiveness of our defense this entire year. So I don't really know if that part was part of the defensive coordinator's issue too, and maybe you have to be a little bit harder on defensive players. I don't know. That's one thing I always worry about KOC is like, does he have, like, I love his leadership all in all, but does he have, like, is it just too nice? I don't know if it's that, or if you kind of
McVay is like super, super nice, and they're all from this. Everyone that comes from Sean McVay's little tree of people, we'll call them, one of his branches, they always do so well because they connect. They're younger and they connect good with the players. I think the players liked Ed. He's
especially
very
now.
respected. They did not like him. I just don't know why nobody was like, we got to do something different.
Right.
Tim, we'll get into this in a little bit here with some of the players and what we're going to do with them. Thanks for hopping in.
Hold your horses, man. Hold your horses. Too Evil to Hope says you guys worried about the drama, and I think he's talking about.
I don't know. I don't think that stuff needs to really be brought up. It is what it is. He's obviously still getting looked at for coaching.
Casey, I can bring it up if I want.
Yeah, he's like, they want to bring it up.
I think I think if he went to Steelers and you didn't hear a peep about it all year, I don't think it would be brought up with us. So I don't think that's an issue.
And who knows what really happened there?
Yeah,
for sure. So, all right. Any other thoughts on defensive coordinator interviews, or do we want to start moving on to?
Brought up what's his name? The defensive coordinator for Rams.
Oh, Raheem Morris. I mean, Raheem Morris would have been an option if Sean McVay was going to leave. And I don't know why people are still looking at that. Like, if McVay's staying, Raheem Morris is going to stay too. So,
yeah.
So Here is my thought, Raheem Morris. Before he became D coordinator, they were the #1 defense in the league. When they won the Super Bowl, he became the D coordinator, and they were 15th in the league. And then this year they were crap. So I don't know. I don't know if he had anything to do with that, or I just don't know. I'm a little worried about Raheem Morris.
KOC just has that kind of impact, except for our team, I guess.
Really though, we needed. I mean, I'd be fine with the top 17, 15 defense. Like, you don't need to be top 5. It helps.
That's all we needed.
We would have beat the Giants if we were even mediocre.
Well, but they dropped from 1st to 15th, but they were still effective, right? Because they have Aaron Donald. And then this year they win how many games? 4? I don't know.
Something like that.
I'm a little worried about that track record, that regression, but I don't know. He's a leader of men. Everybody knows that. Players like him. You know, I like that aspect of him. Definitely. I didn't follow their defense that much this year, that I know if it had anything to do with the defense. I think it was a lot to do with the offense. It was pretty terrible, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. I did hear, though, quick rumor, speaking of the Rams, I don't know if it's true. It's like the NFL rumors page on Twitter. I don't know how much they actually know. I see a lot of stuff out there. Some of it ends up being true. But I heard we might be one of the 4 teams looking at Jalen Ramsey, or looking into Jalen Ramsey if he becomes available. Ooh. I think he'd cost way too much money. I don't. And would he want to go on a defense? It's going to be completely rebuilding. I just don't know. Maybe he likes Kevin O'Connell. I don't know. But interesting thought.
Well, wouldn't Donald be available then too? I heard he's retiring, but maybe KOC could get him to come for a year.
That'd be sweet.
I would take him for a year.
Please get Aaron Donald and Ramsey, please.
Yeah,
right.
We could have drafted him. It's going to haunt us.
I know. Who did we draft and said that year?
Anthony Barr. And put him on a 4-3 defense.
Yeah.
When he's a 3-4, that he would have been better.
He'd have been perfect now.
She knew it. Right. She knew how to say it. 3-4. He's a 3-4 defensive outside linebacker, and we put him in a 4-3.
Yep. Same with Hunter. Hunter's backwards now.
Now we're doing the to Hunter.
Yeah, he's dropping in coverage, and he can't. I can't with any of the things Hunter was doing all year.
Yeah.
This team can't afford Ramsey. I would take anybody from San Francisco's defensive coaching staff, like anybody. I don't know who we could coach, but
me and Jamie were kind of talking about that beforehand. I just feel like it's gonna be tough, because I feel like because obviously DeMeco Ryans is gonna get a head coaching job.
Love that guy. He should have been hired last year.
He's gonna get a head coaching job, and I'm sure whatever high ranking guy they have on that staff is probably going to be the guy that would take over for him, I would assume. So,
or go with him if he leaves.
True. Yeah, very true. Yeah, that's a good point as well. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. I mean, I just think the Rams, but I mean, that defense is always good, so they got to have good coaches at all levels of that. So yeah.
Is DeMeco Ryans going to go to the Texans because he played there? I mean, he could go.
It.
I mean, go there. You get your quarterback at number 2.
They need a quarterback.
Hopefully, if they can get, it's
either going to be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. One of them's going to be there, so they have the number.
I thought part of the reason why he went back, because he interviewed with us, and I think he knew he wasn't getting that. You know, I think he took his name out of the whole head coaching, and there were jobs left. Like, I thought he would have got one of those jobs,
right?
And you know, even the Texans, hired Lovie Smith. They probably would have hired him.
Right.
And the fact that he went back and didn't even pursue that I'm like, I thought he was waiting for a good one. You know, I thought he was going to take it out, give me another experience, kick ass again. And he did everything, bet on himself. And now he could probably have, I would think, any coaching job he wants, but who knows?
Yeah.
I would have loved him. You know, if we didn't get KOC, or, you know, he was in my top 3 last year.
And he would not let our defense be like that.
We would not have a shit defense with him.
No.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of really good head coaching options last year. Obviously, as we're seeing with these teams and how good they were.
All the teams that flipped. Yeah, it was always the case. Like when we got Mike Zimmer, and he did turn us around, but that year there was nobody.
Right.
There was nobody. We're trying to pick between him or Gruden coming from Cincinnati, and we went the defensive route. Gruden went to the Redskins. So I think we got the better of the 2 options, but there was slim pickings that year, and finally we hit a year where there was a lot of good choices.
For sure.
I think KOC though still had hiccups with game management,
play calling. I thought for sure.
I was more on the short yardage play calling.
Yeah, the head coach and the offensive coordinator, play call maker. I mean, I don't know if he could give that part up.
I kind of wish he would.
Right. Because who called the play where Justin Jefferson's throwing the ball to Kirk Cousins with no blocker? And I just don't know what that was.
No,
exactly.
And then who? And then like
he called that play. I believe he called that play because they called it first down. So I think it was going to be a first and 10 play. I know. Then that's the thing. You need to change the play then, man.
I mean, and
he
then
doesn't run a lot either. He's not his offense has never been run heavy, so that's another thing.
The Rams really weren't either, and that's why I know
we were
talking about Ty Chandler coming up too. I feel like they used their running backs a lot more in the passing game, which is why I feel like they took a shot on Ty Chandler because that's what he does. He's more of that receiving back. So I feel like that's why he's going to be pretty important.
Like we need like a Debo where he can play
a little bit of everything.
I don't even know. You don't even know what position he's playing. Running back, receiver,
everything.
Could be a tight end. He could just
quarterback sometimes.
Yeah, he could play.
Bring Cordero back.
Dude,
anyway,
I wish he wanted to. What, last year, the year before?
Yeah, there was some thought last year. It was before because he was a free agent. And
well, yeah, that's when he was going on Twitter,
ended up giving him the bag
to give him a shot, which was
dude. I wish we would have.
Yeah,
we could have used that kind of weapon on this
we
offense.
always bring players.
Well, that's another player we misused over the years. It's like another player.
For sure. So any other thoughts on defensive coordinators before we move on to just running through some of the veterans on the team? And
so we all agreed Mike Pettin, right? No, I'm kidding.
I think out of those choices, I got to go with Flores. As of right now, I'd got to go with Flores, but
I'd say Flores. I think that'd be a really good choice.
I'd be
I
cool with
that. I just don't know if he'll do it if he gets off of the head coaching position. I think it's harder. Sure. And then who do you choose?
Right. And then that's the thing. It's like, we get, and that's the thing. We're talking about who do we choose? Does anybody look at this team and be like, man, I want to be part of this defense? I mean, unless I'm sure during the interview, Kwesi and Kevin O'Connor, like, here's what we're doing. Here's our plan for the draft and free agency. Here's what we want to build here. So it's
right.
I mean, it's a two-way street when you're trying to.
It can only go up, right? It can only go in the right direction.
Right, exactly. That's probably part of it too. It's like
13-4 team, and their defense was terrible. I mean, imagine if you can just make any improvement on this defense, what our team can be.
Which is the same thing I said before the season.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Me too. But obviously, it got worse.
We got to move on.
Rewind the tape on that one. Jesus, serious. I feel like a broken record. Our defense was just 15th, 20th.
Yeah, taking that. But now it's time to move on to something a little bit depressing. Look at some of the veterans on this team, and that's part of the issue. Turning over this defense is going to be a little bit more than just a coach. There are going to be some decisions that need to be made. And a lot of it is going to be people that we have been accustomed to watching the last 10 years on this team. And I feel like, unfortunately, it's going to be time to let some of these guys go, whether it be a trade, cut, what have you.
And we're cowards, so we brought Alexis on to make the cuts for us.
So,
but I feel like
I'm the worst. I'm like, everyone can just stay here.
We'll pay you more money.
We'll figure it out.
So, like, Alexis, when it comes to sports,
we picked the wrong person to make the cut.
I mean, well, it also depends who's our defensive coordinator going to be, because then I would pick different players for different coordinators. Like, if you get Flores,
very true.
Let's assume it's a 3-4. Let's assume it's Flores or someone like Flores.
I would keep Harrison Smith if we're blitzing a lot. That's what he does, and he's so good. And I don't care what age he is. I will never cut him. He's my one person I would save. We were on an island, I'd save him.
And that's the thing. If they can get by with restructuring him, I mean, I think that's kind of a no-brainer move right there if he decides to stay for less money. But I don't know. I just felt like with the way that his last press conference was after the game in the locker room, it kind of struck me as a guy that knew he might be done soon. I don't know. I could be completely wrong here, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, first guy on the list, Adam Thielen. I personally, I hate to say it, Minnesota growing boy, obviously, phenomenal career for an undrafted guy that had to take a tryout to get on the squad. But looking at his cap number here, $19.967 million cap number. If you straight up cut him, 13.5 in dead cap, 6.4 million in savings. If you do a post June 1st cut, you save the 13.4 million. I hate to say it, but I think Thielen is, unless he agrees to some sort of pay cut or restructure, but the way that his camp is making it sound like is that's not what he's looking for. He still thinks he can be a contributing number 2 receiver in this league. I personally think he gets cut. I think it's the only agreement they can come to, and I don't think Adam Thielen is on the Vikings next season. Unfortunately, hate to say it, but I don't know. I hate. Yeah, I think that's what happens here.
I gotta agree.
I want to know why he ran sideways so many times.
Right?
And Justin Jefferson's pointing that way. I don't.
Yeah, Justin's going
upfield, man.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about the only thing that possibly potentially would save him to be a Viking is that we're gonna wait till June to cut him and not do it sooner, right? Because we're gonna save a hell of a lot more money.
No, it does no. You cut them now, but you just designate them as a post June 1st.
Oh, you can do
that.
How
that works. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, Jamie,
up to two.
You can do it to like 2 players a year, and it just kind of spreads out their cap hit.
We got a lot of players in that situation, though, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, but you can only do 2.
Yeah, you can only pick 2 to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if we do release them like that, and there's no, it's almost like a no-brainer to do it, and the only way then is if he does, and it's not restructured because we're not going to kick the can down the road,
right? It'd be a pay cut
anymore. He has a void year already. We're not going to do any more of that. So the only way is to him take a 1 year, prove it year with us. But he's not. I don't think he's got too much pride. He thinks he can still play.
Right.
I think he can still play. I have no doubt about it. He's not. I've seen a highlight reel of him recently of all those awesome plays he did. Dude was lightning compared to what he is now.
I just think the injuries caught up to him, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did bang his knee earlier in the year, but there was a couple of games that he kind of didn't look good. But then there was other ones that he really helped us, and he still had the hands.
Right.
He
he dropped more passes this year than he normally does. But I also think that, who knows? Maybe he's right. Maybe that the team just, I don't know, maybe Kevin O'Connell's wanted to get Justin Jefferson and KJ more involved. And maybe his usage wasn't correct. Maybe they could have tried to force the ball to him a couple more times. But I don't know. Just seeing the sample size we have plus that contract, it's just, it might be the thing where they're going to give him 2 options. Like either A, you retire in your hometown team, the only team you've ever played for. It's a cool story.
Or
I want to see him retire.
Go play somewhere else. I feel like he would go.
Please.
Where?
No.
He would go to the Packers.
I hope not.
Aaron.
I don't think
his wife.
But Aaron Rodgers might not be there.
I know. I don't know if Aaron's going to be there. I'm hoping he's not. I don't think he's going to. But his wife's family is from there, and I feel like they need a wide receiver. They need.
He also says it's the worst stadium in the league.
Well, I know.
He's a Minnesota grown boy.
Digging up her stuff and how she likes them recently, and it was a big thing, and she got mad. I like him and his family. His foundation is amazing.
Right. For sure.
I don't. The hate leave here because he's been here for so long, and he's always restructured to help out the team. He's always been a team player, and I hate letting go of players like that aren't selfish. But he's probably getting to the point where he has to be selfish because he needs as much money as he can get the last couple of years. And if I were him, I would explore my options, but it can't be his choice, right? He's contracted. We'd have to let him go.
Yeah, which I would assume is gonna. That's worst case. If he wants to keep playing, that's probably what would happen here. But that's the thing. Like all the hate he's getting, him and his family are getting right now, I think it's a little bit ridiculous. If anything, his wife is just being a good businesswoman for him. Trying to basically kind of put it out there that he either wants to be involved in the offense more or he wants out and go somewhere else and see what he can do. So I hold no bad feelings against Thielen for any of this. How could you? So, but that's number 1 guy here. Looking at the second veteran, Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith.
That's just like, nope, save. Go to the next guy.
Harrison Smith cap number upcoming season, a little over 19 million. If you cut him, it's 11 million in dead cap. $7.3
million safety right there.
$7.3 million cap savings, which is why with that breakup, it does kind of, if he's willing to take some sort of a pay cut / restructure, I could see him doing it. He strikes me as the type that wants to he's always kind of seemed like the guy that 100% wants to stay on the same team and wants to stay.
Yeah, he says he's wanting to retire a Viking.
A Viking, he will.
Yeah. So I would think he's the most likely one that would take some sort of a restructure pay cut to stay for the last
you're not
going to
put Bynum over him.
Right.
And
Bynum and Scene would be a risky setup there.
I think he's he's the most important veteran we have on that defense, in my opinion, as far as his leadership and stuff. And
also,
his
he babysits that secondary. Him and Duke
like
ran into each other. Duke ran into each other the last game, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, do you not see? Like, does anybody not know where they're going? So I feel like it's not him. I feel like it's the young guys coming in. The scheme was hard, and they always make him follow whoever the ball's going to is weaker, and he has to babysit them, and he doesn't get free range. They didn't blitz him a lot, which they should have. Yeah. And I don't know. I still think he's good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's not like he doesn't have the same speed that he had as a young player, which I mean, why would you when you're getting to his age? But there's definitely still a lot of talent there. So
I think I'm older than him. I think I'm actually older than him.
Yeah, I don't know how old
he's like 33.
Yeah. I'm older than Pat Pete. We say old and they're 30. And it's like, it's not old. It's old in football years, but they're really not old.
Right. Yeah.
That.
Which is
30.
By the way, listeners, by the way, listeners, make sure you let us know if you would cut Thielen or you'd cut Smith. Put it in the chat. Make sure you hit like. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you go to GG Sports Podcast. Make sure you go to. I'm plugging your show, man. I'm plugging your show. GG Sports Podcast. Go over there and click subscribe. All right. And we also have Alexis's Twitter handle in the description of the video. Go give her a follow. She literally tweets about football nonstop all day long. I think I proved that today.
Yeah.
Who's the next guy?
Well, moving on to my next guy.
Who's the next person Alexis is cutting?
This one's my favorite.
What's the overall status on Smith, though? So try to restructure with Smith.
You'll have to restructure him for money. We have no money.
Yeah, if that doesn't work out and he doesn't want to restructure,
I cry.
I think we have to cut him.
I don't know, but maybe. I don't know. It'll be an interesting.
I don't want him. He's one of the veterans I want.
Bynum, Scene, and Metellus coming back.
I forgot about Metellus. Yeah.
There's enough possibilities there to let him go.
No.
But this one here is an easy choice for me.
We're saying if he doesn't restructure, he doesn't. A lot of times you have it built in your contract to restructure. I think you guys might be thinking about taking a pay cut. That's different because the Vikings can restructure his contract.
The same amount of money as a signing bonus.
You're just giving them signing bonus and spreading it out.
Yeah,
and adding void years. But
I
mean, how much do you think he's worth a year at this point, straight up?
I'd say at least 10. What is the vet minimum now? I don't even remember.
Like, isn't it like just over $1 million or something like that?
It's so low that I say.
I feel like 6 million, 7 million.
What was it, like 10? I'd say 10. Guys, he's so good.
I love Harrison Smith so much.
Pat P was 10 the year before, but he ended up signing for 4 this year.
Okay, so the first year we took him at 10.
Yeah, he was like 10 million the first year and then 4 the next.
Wasn't it like 8 million base with like 2 million in incentives or something like that?
Better this year.
Oh, much better this year. He even admitted that, hey, he wanted a chance to prove himself again.
Yeah.
And he did.
And
that Mike game against the Cardinals, he was wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was insane.
The Giants game though was not a good way to end it.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Nobody played good in that game.
This one's my favorite. I am ready to show Delvin Cook the door.
Oh no. Don't be excited.
Love Delvin Cook. Think he's a great locker room guy, great leader. In his prime, before all the injuries that he'd get once a year, twice a year, who knows how long.
This year, but not this year.
Casey hates Pro Bowlers. He doesn't like them.
Pro Bowl run. Cut our Pro Bowl running back.
Cut our Pro Bowl alternate when there was
1,000 yards every year.
Yeah. Anyway, Delvin Cook
played his first healthy year for first full season.
$14 million cap hit, and this is the biggest issue. $14 million cap hit. You save over half of that if you straight up cut the guy. He has no trade value because he's an aging running back on a $14 million contract, unless you agree. Maybe if you agree to eat half the contract during the trade, but I don't know. I just think Delvin's time here has come to an end, unfortunately. Like I said, when he was at his full strength, the guy was talented as hell. And this is nothing against Delvin Cook the person, because like I said, I think he's gonna find.
I think Casey's got something against Delvin Cook the person.
I don't. He's gonna find a spot somewhere as like he'll probably start somewhere, but I don't know. I'm just ready to see him off this team. Unfortunately, I just think the injuries, the untimely fumbles. Yes, he had a couple nice.
He stayed healthy this year. Give it to the man for staying healthy this year.
And a couple game changing screen passes that he brought to the house for touchdowns. Like he still has that breakaway speed.
He won the Buffalo game.
Touchdown.
He won the Buffalo game. The Dolphins
won us
game.
the Miami game. I can tell you that I was there.
I was there.
And then the Colts game. So yeah.
But I mean, and I get that our offensive line isn't the best at blocking, but the fact that he'd get the ball and just kind of stutter step and run into a defender and fall over where Madison would actually get some positive yardage. Like
he went down easier this year than he has.
He did.
Madison is a free agent.
Yeah, Madison will be around.
But still, you can find a guy at any round of the draft.
That's why I'm investing in Ty Chandler. I got my Ty Chandler cards.
But I mean, I don't know. And this one is kind of. I mean, I hate to say it. It's kind of. I mean, not dumb. Like, Vikings, but the loyalty thing is a little bit like Vikings are loyal. I mean, Rick Spielman is loyal to a lot of these players, so I think Kwesi might come in and realize it's time.
Kwesi could disrupt the whole thing and just start just let them all go and regroup. But I also don't want to lose. Like, I don't want to be at that point where you rebuild and you're not good for a year. I couldn't handle a year like that.
And that's the thing. It's going to be tough to sell that. So and the competitive rebuild thing, I think, was almost like we're going to try our best with what we have and see how it goes. I think the fact he went 13-4 with a great offense, I think that's just clicked. Like, here's what we need to do. This defense needs fixing. We'll try our best to do it as soon as possible, while still selling the fact that this team can compete. Because without selling that, you're not keeping Justin Jefferson around here. He's not going to want, no matter how much money you throw at him, another team that has a better chance of winning will do that. And that's why when people talk about wanting to blow this roster up and start over, like you get the best of both worlds. You can't do that and keep Justin Jefferson.
And win. Yeah.
Exactly. So
you can't do that and keep people that want to compete. You saw how Diggs acts when he loses ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
Is there running backs? Georgia, do they have a running back coming in out of the draft?
The big one is
the Texas
Austin,
kid, Bijan Robinson, the Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, Texas. Which he's a first round. He's going to probably be a first rounder, which we can't afford to use our. First round on a running back.
I think with Kenny Nwangu and Ty Chandler, I think they could probably go into the season with that and get a guy late.
By the way, this one right here.
Cook. I don't know. Cook trips over his own feet more than anywhere. But he's made of glass.
He's also made of glass. Maybe not blow it up, but I mean, and that's the thing. It's like Delvin Cook, and back in his prime, he would break out of tackles really easily. Like he was like number one guy in like breaking tackles, and I feel like that's kind of he gets shoe tackled a lot now, where someone will just hit him on the ankle and he won't. And
he stumbled when he tried to get a couple of times. He stumbled when the Buffalo game. On the third down,
he wouldn't have needed that much excitement.
Just you get a walk. It was like he fell down, and the Cousins, he tried to throw it to him, and he just fell down.
They trip each other though. Like I see them run into each other sometimes. Or
this last play, the last play of the game,
he went to throw it up, and he got tackled, and I was like, what just happened? But nobody blocked for him.
Yeah. He tripped Cleveland going out into his route, and then they got on that last play of the game. Which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
Jamie, did you not put Kendricks in the slideshow?
I think I did.
Did you?
I like Eric.
I did.
Jordan Hicks. I don't think you put.
We need to get you have to have a big explosive running back. 1,000 yards is a lot of yards, and he does it consistently. So it's not like he doesn't.
How did I forget him?
His contract.
So my viewpoint on Cook is it would be the one thing is if we can entice if there's nothing out there for him. We could do the 1 year. Hey, you're going to be 29 as a free agent after this year. At 2024, you'll be a 29-year-old free agent. We'll give you 10 million guaranteed, or maybe that's too high for you guys. I don't know, but that's still less than the cap, the 14 million. Or we'll give him because he's got 6 million in dead cap, right? So we'd probably, pay him a higher guaranteed money than that. And try to keep him for 1 year while we develop these other running backs. But that would be my only probably possibility of him coming back.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
The money is what's killing us.
Right.
Yeah. Just Purple for the Win today brought us down to 46 million under the cap. Yeah. He went through it and he got rid of everybody.
Yeah.
Including CJ Ham. Sorry, Jamie.
Hey.
But
he's on this list. He's
on this list. We'll talk about him later.
But
let's move on.
But
we don't want to keep Alexis all night.
But someone that Jamie didn't put on this list though was
wait. Hold on a second. Go to the next player. KC that's on that list.
Za'Darius Smith?
Yeah.
He's
Well,
erased
Mike
the
is
Vikings from
keeping him.
social media, I think, right now.
He did?
Well, he deleted that before the Chicago game. I don't think that has to do with our team. He hasn't even been on our team long enough.
Yeah.
I think you keep him, especially if you're going to take the Mike Patine. He's going to keep him.
If we're going to be
I think if you're going to stick with a 3-4, yes. If you go back to a 4-3, no.
No.
But if you go back to a 4-3, then you keep Hunter.
Yes, for sure. And I think it's kind of one or the other. To where I think if you stick with the 3-4, I think you got to trade away. I think you got to trade away Hunter for whatever you can get for him. I think you could still get a first rounder.
I want to keep Tomlinson though.
What's that?
I mean, Tomlinson.
I want to keep him. I think he was great.
I think that'd be a good idea.
I've made a point where if we went to a 4-3, we've solved our defensive line because Hunter would go back, Wanneman and Jones would be the other sharing time, and we would have our 2 defensive tackles ready to go.
But also, but aren't Wanneman Jones more like stand up 3-4 linebacker?
I don't know. They played DN for us in the 4-3, so.
Yeah, but I thought they were kind of out of position doing that, though. They
could be. They're good. They're good. I guess weak side, outside linebackers in the 3-4. So maybe they are out of.
We need a linebacker. We got it.
And that kind of brings us into our next guy here, who is Eric Kendricks. Now, I love Eric Kendricks. He's been a stud on this team, top linebacker in the league for a long time. But looking at his contract, $11.43 million. Only 1.9 million of that would be dead. $9.5 million cap savings, which I feel like makes him the easiest choice to just straight up.
Well, you're going to have a cap casualty every year, right? And if his is going to be that low, it wouldn't be Thielen's. His is too much dead money. It'd be his.
Right. So I think this is the most reasonable option. Plus, you got Brian Asamoah coming in.
And Jamie had to pick. And Jamie had to pick the picture with he has the biggest puppy dog eyes. And here we are discussing whether or not we're going to cut him.
Every picture of his has puppy dog.
Yeah,
puppy dog eyes, man.
And I think he's still going to lock on with. I mean, obviously with another team, be a good rotational piece. I just think his days is like one of the top middle linebackers in the league. Probably is, it's past, but he's still a talented football player as we've seen in years past. But just with that cap number and how much savings you could get.
Slow this year, though. I kept seeing the comments. He's so slow. He's not doing this and that. But that was also scheme too.
True.
It was also what he was trying to do is because he had to cover. He saw in that game when they were doing that handoff that Jones did, and he's pointing, it's going that way, but nobody's helping him. No one around him's getting it. And he runs one way, then has to try to cut back the other way, and he couldn't pull it out.
And that really is
I blame the scheme more than I blame any of these defensive players.
That's what I keep saying. So I don't know how to evaluate them truly. Plus, they've been here for so long. Like Za'Darius Smith, I would be like, sure, if he leaves, I would be okay. Not because I didn't like him. Great personality, great person on the team. Good at his job still, had a bunch of sacks.
Especially early in the season.
But I'm not attached to him. He hasn't been here long enough. So I'm like, all right, sure. You can go.
I mean,
Hendricks.
Nano Joe here said EK was also slow last year. But
EK was slow. There it goes.
He was also our leading tackler, and he had the most tackles of his career in 2021.
That's the thing. Our stats never equal up to the production.
And Jordan Hicks is considered slow and a terrible player, but he led us in tackles, and not many players get over 120 tackles in the season.
So lost the first couple games. Lost.
I don't know. But Hicks coming into I did a video on Hicks, coming into the season. He led us in tackles.
I know.
Had the most in his career. And I'm like, oh well, we're gonna have a good year. And no. Yeah, in 2020 he was hurt. So
yeah. But it is always weird though, because it's like I think this year we'll know if it's like, especially if we get rid of some of these players, we'll know if it's scheme and I think it was kind of the square peg round hole thing where you're putting guys that have played in the 4-3 for 8 years and trying to squeeze them into a 3-4 defense.
And we can't get rid of all of our linebackers. No, we won't have any linebackers. We
won't have any.
Yeah.
Was Chaz Surratt really not good? I don't know. I was excited when we drafted him, and then we never really
bad decision maker. When I watched him in preseason, he was like hitting the wrong hole and shit. And he wasn't. He was a quarterback that switched to linebacker, so his tackling skills were lacking.
Okay.
I don't know.
He had bursts of good things, but wasn't all put together as a player.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was developed.
He was raw. He was really raw.
We saw some good play preseason out of Troy Dye. We didn't continue seeing him much. So I don't know what our plan is with him going forward. maybe
right.
he
He was a
special
senior.
teamer.
He had flashes of being
good special teamer, and that's why he made the team.
Yeah.
Same thing with Boyd. Do you keep Chris Boyd? I think
because he's a really good special teamer. I think I have him on a different list actually. I know Chris Boyd too, because obviously he isn't really much at all for cornerback for us, but he was for
depth because we got to the point where we had to put him on the field. We were that lacking in corners.
We went and got Shelley off the practice squad before starting him.
I don't know how we're so. Zim drafted a corner every year, and I would scream, "Don't get another corner as your first pick, please!" And then now I'm like, "We need a corner."
I know it is tough.
Yeah. It's ironic.
But we've already kind of touched on the next guy here, Daniil Hunter. Obviously, if you stick with it,
keep him.
If you stick with the 3-4, if you stick with the 3-4 though, unless someone's going to come in and just let him kind of be that interior guy and put his hand in the dirt, because when they actually started letting him do that near the end of the season, that's when the sack numbers started to come back up a little bit.
Right.
If you can find a way to fit him into this defense, go. I mean, I think that's perfect. I mean, cutting him isn't
going
to work.
Chasing a running back that's 24,
right.
You can't catch him, so I don't know what the point of that was.
No, that was ridiculous. But cutting him isn't going to work. Dead money is 18 million. Cap savings it's 5 million. If 5 million more than his cap number, so cutting him
would be a trade. He would be a trade option.
He has value.
He would be a trade out. He'd be like the one person that I think we could make a real trade for.
But his contract redo last year set up for this. People knew he wasn't going to play on this contract. His base salary is only 4.9 million. So it's basically either see how it was a prove it year. See how he plays, either extend him or ship him off to another team that will extend him. So and he proved he can still play. So he's going to get an extension one way or the other.
So when I had Luke Braun on my show, he was telling me, hey, they only play the 3-4 20% of the time anyways. And I said, well, that's why I don't want the 20% of the time where I have Zadarius Smith covering Amon St. Brown in the slot.
Right.
I don't want that shit. So give me a defense with the right players. And that's the situation where I brought up to him that, hey, the highest value for him is to trade him to a 4-3 team if we're going to stick with the 3-4. Because you can find a guy that, you could find a guy to fit into the 4-3 to do the production that he did with us because he could play every down. And in Daniil Hunter's situation, he was only effective if we had his hand on the ground and he was rushing the quarterback.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't do well standing up.
So
Zadarius Smith does.
Yeah. I'm big Daniil Hunter, and I think if we're in a 4-3 and he stays on this team, I still think he's good for us. I just think in the value and what we could get back.
Yeah.
And
depending on what we can get
in
back.
the cap hit and stuff, all that.
The thing is like pass rushers don't grow on trees. It's hard to find a pass rusher like Daniil Hunter or Zadarius Smith. And that's the biggest thing. That's the reason why outside of quarterbacks, those are the positions that get picked over number one overall in the draft.
Yeah. Well, look at the Raiders.
That's a hard thing is if we get rid of them, who knows the next time we're going to have a pass rusher as talented as we've been pretty spoiled with a lot of pass rushers as Viking fans. So we don't really know what it's like to not have one really. Right. But I know there's a lot of teams that wish they had a guy like Daniil Hunter and teams that never really had a guy like him. Well, so look at the thing that I'm worried about not having him.
Look at the Raiders when they traded away Khalil Mack. They didn't get another impact pass rusher until Max Crosby. So, and now look at him. I mean, obviously he's great, but
it's great.
It's tough. But obviously then we already touched on this next guy a little bit here as well. Jordan Hicks. Again, look at his cap number. Pretty straightforward. Cut him 1.5 dead, 5 million in cap savings. Unless he agrees to some sort of a rework deal or a cut, or unless he either agrees to a pay cut or you rework his deal or something, he's probably gone.
Which would leave us with Dye and Asamoah.
Right, which is
but
that's why then you take your cap savings and you turn that around and sign another free agent. Or
and what would we get? Another guy like Hicks, right? That's what I'm worried about.
Right, I know that is especially if
we're going to take that cap savings to get another guy like Hicks.
Right,
and that's what I'm worried about.
It is only $6.5 million, so maybe you do just ride it out for another year with him as your other guy. I don't know. Or
I'd rather keep Kendricks and see if he'll do a restructure.
But Kendrick, he's already restructured his deal multiple times, though. He's
I don't think Kendricks would want to leave, though. I think he would stay.
If you paid him, how much would you pay Kendricks? $6 million.
6 million.
6 million. Yeah. So if he would restructure to that, That's like the same price as Hicks. I would rather do that. I don't know if he will. He might not, but I would definitely choose that over Hicks.
Time will tell. I mean, and that's the thing. And we're going to know soon because before free agency, you're going to want to make all these moves, especially before the draft. So that'll be interesting. Moving on to our last and final guy we have on our list here. TJ Ham. Jamie, obviously we know you're close to TJ.
Pay him more.
With them.
Pay him more.
He could have been
more
utilized
involved
so
in the passing
much more.
game.
Yeah, he could have been utilized so much more.
Only a $3.8 million cap hit.
Look at Jamie.
But
look at Jamie look longingly into his eyes.
As a fullback, I mean,
and that's kind of the tough part. And here's the thing: if you cut him, $750,000 dead, $3.05 million in cap savings. So you barely.
Alexis, Jamie went to high school with him, so he's a big fan.
I graduated high school with him. Too evil and hope, no, bro.
Ham needs to go. Why? Ham's never done anything wrong.
Too evil hope. He's told everyone to go. He doesn't. Do you?
What did he do to you? Too evil to hope.
Yeah,
what did he do to you, man?
He doesn't trip people. If you put him on the goal line,
he's an Augustana Viking, man. He's an Augustana Viking. Became a Minnesota Viking.
He's such a nice guy. See, this is why I couldn't cut players. They would come into the office and I'd be like, "You're so nice."
The thing that scares me about
here's more money.
Here's more money.
If we do cut Cook. I just feel like for some reason, I feel like if we lose Cook, we might lose CJ. And that's pretty much my concern.
They're all very close.
Right. And the idea is if you lose Cook, the whole fullback thing in KOC with the fullback thing, coming from the Rams defense where they didn't use a fullback. So if it goes more to the Chandler Keeney type deal, maybe they decide to not use a fullback. Hopefully it doesn't happen. I want him to be our fullback until he's like 40 at least. So
if you want to rebuild, by the way, then Justin Jefferson's not going to be on this.
Jamie wants to go back to the wing tee. Let's go to the wing tee.
Yep.
Whatever you got to do.
Because I know a lot of people might think Justin Jefferson's whole I don't care about the money right now. I just want to win. I know some people think that's just kind of BS and just trying to put yourself in a better light for when you get that contract extension. But I think he's I think he still wants the money, obviously, but I think he's partially truthful that he wants to win. And if you decide to get rid of everybody,
he didn't sound enthusiastic at all at the end. I know people were freaking out about what he said, like, "Oh yeah, if they want me here, I'll stay." And everyone's like, "What does he mean? Of course we want him." Yeah. And I don't think he wants to win more than he knows he's going to get paid. That's why he doesn't say he's worried about it. He's like, "I'm not worried about it." Yeah, because he knows he's going to get paid.
Right.
And he's technically still here on contract. So it's not like he can leave, but they need to pay him and they need to not keep him happy, because I don't like when players hold the teams hostage. I don't like that. But I mean, his production was great this year. I just think that he wants to win because LSU won that season. It was different. They never lost. So he's not used to, 3 years of to be in the playoffs one time with him for 3 years is crazy.
For sure. Yep. Yeah. So for sure they'd have him under contract for 2 seasons because they have next year plus the 5th year option, which they will exercise. I'm sure.
Up, right.
For sure. Yeah. But
that's the thing with Bradbury. They didn't pick it up, and then he played exceptionally better. So do you keep him or do you let him go?
I still think they need to get more bullies on that interior, the offensive line, and I think it does kind of start with
the center.
Start with center. He definitely played better, and I think now
the Giants game he came off the injury, but he was not looking very good.
No,
he got blown up quite often.
I think somebody said his market value is going to be around $11 million a year, which
bullied him, and it's on mic'd up, and it's hilarious.
I didn't even see that.
Oh yeah, he was like, "You hug me more than my girlfriend. Remember, you signed up for this." And I was like,
"Are you shitting me? I did not hear that.
You didn't hear that? Oh,
I saw the clip out there. Yeah,
but we don't have it. We need a guy like that.
I have no qualms about letting Bradbury go. I think we can get a guy to give us mediocre center play for a lot less than what he's going to get paid.
We need a guard. We need a guard back.
And it's almost like you got to get that taste out of your mouth. Just that, oh my God, I can't believe I have to eat this consume this every week. And he had a decent year, and we were worse when he got hurt and wasn't able to play. He didn't show up in the Giants game, not at all. No. And
but half the defense didn't show up. I don't even know who showed up. It was weird. And it wasn't like we were never in it, though. It wasn't like, oh, we got blown out. I can't believe this. We were in it. We could have won it. And and I thought we were going to come back at the end like we always do and tie it up. I don't know what that play call was. at the very, the check down.
Well, and I didn't like the second to last drive. I mean, we threw the ball behind the line of scrimmage twice, and one of them was the tight end screen.
It was the weirdest
Dave's favorite.
You guys had to know I was freaking out.
Oh, I know.
How often I talk about that tight end screen.
I hate screens, and we don't execute them well.
We do terrible at screens every time.
Terrible at screens.
But and we have like the perfect offensive line for it because our guys are all fast.
I know, right?
When our tight ends block.
Yeah, so we have like the perfect team for it. We just don't do them.
They get blown up every time.
Partially, I kind of blame it on
people can see them coming. That's why they can notice. They notice when we're doing it. That's
and Kirk has a very slow wind up too. I feel like he does the full wind. Like we watch Patrick Mahomes. He take one step, flicks the wrist, and the ball's in the pass catcher's hands. Where Kirk kind of does the full wind up. And I feel like that doesn't help.
Show me how'd that go? The wrist.
Yeah, but Mahomes throws
just like Mahomes.
Sideways.
That looked just like Mahomes.
Well, exactly like Mahomes. Maybe a little bit better, but slightly.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing with this team. There's a ton of tough decisions to make.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know, and I think. I mean, being a Twins fan, I've seen it a lot in the last week with the Luis Ariz trade as well. Like Minnesota fans, for some reason, we get that connection to people that have done good things for these teams. And you see that at all levels with every different sport. And I just think it sucks, but I think I think deep down fans know it's best for the teams.
Yeah, she's just a Vikings fan.
I'm just a Viking. When people try to talk to me about other Minnesota organizations, I'm like, no, wrong person. It's strictly the Vikings. I'll do. I mean, I'm from New York, so I mean, everybody likes the Yankees. You can't not like them
unless you're not from New York,
right? Exactly. So you're kind of.
We have a reason to like the Yankees as Twins fans,
almost as much as the Packers. But
really, that's a strong
Yankees
one.
because the Yankees.
We would always go to the playoffs against them and get swept.
Yep.
I don't watch, but I'm not a baseball. I don't like baseball.
Yeah, it's pretty boring to watch.
But
unless you're good. If it's good, if your team's good, I have a lot more fun.
Yep. But anyway, but I mean, it's just kind of the same deal. Like Minnesota sports fans get those connections, and I think this season a lot of those are going to be tested. There's going to be a lot of upset people. But at the end of the day, moving on from some of these older players is just.
This is a year to do it, man.
It's going to be.
It's going to be the year it happens
for sure.
I think they didn't want to disrupt the team so much in the beginning because they wanted everybody to be like, okay. Not even see what we have. I don't think they wanted to upset the players. I think they wanted to make it like, we're hearing what you say. We're going to change it. We're going to make you better. We'll work with what we have as much as we can. Like, Barr, I think they tried to keep Barr. I think I think there was a conversation and just never went anywhere. And
honestly, I don't know why he signed for $3 million. We finally moved to a 3-4 defense and we do not sign Anthony Barr. He signs with Dallas for $3 million.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
I think they just didn't want to disrupt it, but now it's kind of like, all right, you have the time to see if he's gonna disrupt it.
This would have been the only year I would have wanted us to sign Barr.
I also to be able to hope I agree with one of your takes. Hence Joe Mauer. Yeah, I was. Joe Mauer hung around way too long, and now we're talking about him in the Hall of Fame, and that's a story for a different day.
But
I am losing battery here on this laptop.
Yes. We've been on pretty long here, so we'll probably let you go, cut her off.
We got through a lot of stuff.
We did. It was exciting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. Thank you so much.
We saving the free agents for the next show, so you make sure you stay tuned for that.
Okay.
And Alexis, we want to have you back as often as we can. We won't try to wear you out, but I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we see you on other YouTube channels. You were great.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good night. Bye.
Bye. Skol Vikes.
Thanks everybody for watching.